Welcome back. Right now we're going to go over the vertebral column. The vertebral column, also called the backbone or spinal column, consists of a series of irregularly shaped bones called vertebrae. These bones are divided into 5 different categories depending on where they are located in the backbone. The first 7 vertebrae, starting at the top of the spinal column, are called the cervical vertebrae, or the cervical spine, C1 through C7. These bones form a flexible framework and provide support in motion for the head. The next 12 vertebrae, located in the upper and middle back, are called the thoracic vertebrae, thoracic spine, T1 to T12. These bones move with the ribs to form the rear anchor of the rib cage. Thoracic vertebrae are larger than cervical vertebrae and increase in size from top to bottom. Below the thoracic spine are the 5 vertebrae comprising the lumbar vertebrae, or the lumbar spine, L1 to L5. These are the 5 vertebrae comprising the lumbar vertebrae. These bones are the largest in the spinal column. These vertebrae support most of the body's weight and are attached to many of the back muscles. The lumbar spine is often a location of pain for individuals because these vertebrae carry the most amount of body weight and are subject to the largest forces and stresses along the spine. The sacrum is a triangular bone located just below the lumbar vertebrae. It consists of 4 or 5 sacral vertebrae in a child, which become fused into a single bone during adulthood. The bottom of the spinal column is called the coccyx, or the tailbone. It consists of 3 to 5 bones that are fused together in an adult. Many muscles connect to the coccyx. In between the vertebrae are intervertebral discs made of fibrocartilage that act as shock absorbers that allow the back to move. In addition to allowing humans to stand upright and maintain their balance, the vertebral column serves several other important functions. It helps to support the head and arms while permitting freedom of movement. It also provides attachment for many muscles, the ribs, and some of the organs, and protects the spinal cord, which controls most bodily functions. The optimal arrangement of curves is referred to as a neutral spine and represents a position in which the vertebrae and associated structures are under the least amount of load. The adult human spine has 3 major curvatures: the posterior cervical curvature, or a posterior concavity of the cervical spine, an anterior thoracic curvature, a posterior convexity of the thoracic spine, and a posterior lumbar curvature, a posterior concavity of the lumbar spine. Now here's a picture of your spinal vertebrae. The first 7 are the cervical, the first 7 is the cervical, which is responsible for head and neck movements. The next 7 are the next 12, are the thoracic, which helps maintain posture and is where your latissimus dorsi is attached. And the next 5 are the lumbar, which are the largest. Now remember, your vertebral columns get larger and larger as they go down, because the farther they go down, the more weight they have to support. That is why the lumbar spine has the biggest vertebral columns. And in between each vertebral column are the vertebral discs, or cartilage discs, and they act as shock absorbers. So when, let's say, you fall and let's say you fall and land on your butt and you feel the shock all the way through your spine. This shock, the cartilage discs help absorb the shock so it doesn't hurt your spine as much. And then there's the sacrum and then the coccyx. Now, here's also the table 2.2 of the vertebral column. I'm going to read it. It's basically a summary of everything we just went over. So the cervical spine, C1 through C7, first 7 vertebrae starting at the top of the spinal column. And then the thoracic spine, T1 to T12, 12 vertebrae located in the upper middle back behind the ribs. Then the lumbar spine, L1 to L5, 5 vertebrae of the low back below the thoracic spine. And then the sacrum, the triangular bone located below the lumbar spine. And then the coccyx, located below the sacrum, more commonly known as the tailbone. That will end it for our vertebral column. Next we're going to go over the joints, and I'll see you on the other side of the galaxy.